Welcome to Bite Size, Insights from New York State PTA, the podcast where the heart of PTA leadership gets a mic.
From the hilarious meeting moments to the heartwarming wins, and yes, even a few oopsies, we're bringing you the unfiltered truth of PTA life.
Whether you're brand new to your role or a seasoned pro, this is your space, your bite-sized dose of insights, inspiration, and connection.
This is Bite Size, Insights from New York State PTA.
Because every story counts, even the ones that could have been an email.
Now, to get the podcast started, I am going to turn things over to our podcast host, New York State PTA Vice President, Mary Sotomayor.
Thank you, Patty. Welcome to SLC, everybody. How's everyone doing? Good? All right. So welcome to a special live recording of Bite-Sized Insights from New York State PTA. As Patty mentioned, my name is Mary Sotomayor, the New York State PTA Vice President. I'm joined by the podcast crew that Kyle so lovingly dubbed us as the PCC, yeah. That's Robin Brumfield, Kathleen McEnroe, and Sonia Varillo. Can you just give us a wave so everybody knows where you are? Today, we are lucky enough to be able to bring together three experts whose work addresses issues that affect nearly every family and school community: student health, youth harm, prevention, and school safety. Our goal is to provide parents, educators, and PTA leaders with practical information they can use to help create a healthier and safer environments for young people. I'd like to take a moment to introduce our panelists. First up, we have Dr. Bonnie Halpern-Felsher. Yes. Stanford professor, a developmental psychologist, and a nationally recognized expert in adolescents and young adult tobacco, vaping, cannabis, and substance use prevention. Next, we have Dr. Sami Hamed, okay, an endocrinologist affiliated with Northwell Health and Katz Institute for Women's Health. Her work focuses on hormonal and metabolic health, prevention screenings, and lifelong wellness. We're also joined by Brian Backus, Director of Risk Management with Crisis Leadership Preparedness Solutions. Brian brings decades of experience in military operations, school leadership, emergency preparedness, and crisis management. Thank you all for being here. Let's give a round of applause. Now, I shared a little bit about their professional backgrounds, but I'd also like the audience to hear from each of you directly. In about 30 to 45 seconds, I'd love for you to tell us what brought you to this work and what you most hope families and school leaders will take away from today's conversation.
Well, first of all, good afternoon, everyone. I bring greetings from California. If I sound a little raspy, I think your smoke is getting to me, even though I'm from California. So I apologize. I'm not usually raspy. Anyway, so excited to be here. So what brings me here today, I always say it's all about the kids. That's what I care about. And I started this work because if you think about it, when we think about adolescent risk behavior, there are some risk behaviors that, are okay later in life, or may not be risky later in life. But when you're talking about substances and adolescent brain development, there really is no safe substance use for young people. And if there is, we need to help them be safe. So I'm all about prevention. I'm all about harm reduction, which I know we'll talk about. I'm all about safety and making sure that we have young people to develop their brains, their hearts, their lungs, and develop into a healthy adult. And that's what brings me here today, is to protect our young people.
Thank you. Dr. Ahmed?
Hi, everybody. You guys can call me Dr. Sammy if that's a little easier. That's how I actually go by a lot with them on social media as well. So I'm an endocrinologist. I specialize in hormones, but I really specialize in women's health. That's very special to me. So today I want to talk a lot about like women and how healthy women raise healthy families, and by raising healthy families, they help raise healthy communities. So women love to put themselves second. That's known to be very obvious. So a lot of women who, if they don't take care of themselves first, they can't take care of their families. So my job today is I'm hoping that women start to prioritize themselves first and foremost, so that way they can help take care of their families. So my big thing is also, as an endocrinologist, I do have a lot of different conversations with women in general, but what I want to focus on most is prevention. Prevention is not selfish when you come to talk to your providers about your health and your concerns. I want to bring a lot of awareness to it. And if there's one thing that I want school leaders, mothers, families to kind of get from the conversations I'm having today is that your health matters. In one statement, that's what it is. Your health matters, and I'm going to bring awareness to that, and I'm hoping that I can bring some insight so that way you guys can take something back with you today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sammy. Brian?
Good afternoon. I spent almost 40 years in the military. During part of that time, when I was on Guard and Reserve duty, I ran a health safety risk management program for adolescents. Toward the end of my military career, I wanted to continue to give back to the community. So I served on a local school board for 6 years, served on a BOCES board for 3 years, and then I was comfortably enjoying my retirement. My wife is a school administrator. So my wife bought into this program from the company I work with, CLPS, called TAP App. And it's an emergency notification system where you can horizontally notify across your organization in 3 seconds or less for lockdown, secure lockout, hold, shelter, or evacuate. And she came home and said, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen from a safety standpoint. Now, mind you, I was happy going to Wegmans a couple times a week, walking the dogs, doing the laundry, cooking dinner. She said, the president of the company is going to call you tomorrow because they're expanding. They're in 21 states and they want a bigger footprint in New York. So I said, why is he calling me? And she said, well, you have a skill set that he's looking for. And I said, really, what'd you tell him my skill set was? Because you all know somebody in your family does that for you and to you. And she said, well, I told him you used to run a BOCES health and safety program and you're a retired Air Force colonel. And I'm not sure which one was more impressive for him, but that's how this journey started. And I will tell you, I really am passionate about it. That's why I came back to work. I believe in what we do and why we do it for my children, my grandchildren who are 12 and 10 and live in Las Vegas, and your children and your grandchildren, because this is an important daily thing. The most precious thing you deliver to your school every day is your child. And you are worried about them from the time you drop them off until you get them back in your own care. And my job is to help make sure that that goes as smoothly and safely as it possibly can, day in and day out. So that's why I'm here doing this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. So let's begin our conversation with a question for the full panel. Okay. When you look at families in schools today, what is the one health or safety issue that you believe adults may be underestimating? We'll start in order.
I'll do it from my perspective of why I'm here, which is substance use and adolescent risk behavior. I think adults and young people are underestimating the harms that substance use causes for young people as they're trying to develop. We know whether it's nicotine, whether it's THC and cannabis, other drugs, that the effects on the brain and the effects on our lungs are very much underestimated, and how easy it is for young people to become addicted. That's a lot of what my lab at Stanford University does, is Reach Lab. We really try to help adults and young people understand the risks of those substances that they might be using, so that way they can prevent use, or if they are using, cut back, quit, or at least be safer, so we can protect lives. So whether we're talking about nicotine, THC, fentanyl, psychedelics, alcohol, whatever it might be, I think especially nicotine, we're hearing now of people saying, oh, nicotine is not that harmful for you. Nicotine is nicotine. I don't care what form it's in. THC is THC, no matter what form it's in. And we are hurting young people's brains right now. And I think people are underestimating how much the marketing and the flavors and the industry is attracting young people. And we really need to be able to prevent and do something about it and help young people not be targeted. So that's what I would say.
Thank you. Dr. Sammy, same for you.
All right. So from my perspective, from a health perspective, I would say metabolic health is very underestimated in general. So the thing is, with metabolic health issues, a lot of things are actually starting now at a younger age. So we focus on things that we consider as adult diseases, but we're seeing in younger and younger children insulin resistance, we're seeing thyroid disease, we're seeing obesity, all these conditions that will, kind of affect them in the long term. So we do need to bring a lot more attention to that and not just focus on it when it is a lot more troublesome as an adult. So.
Right. Thank you. Brian?
I would say from my perspective, it's really twofold. It's complacency within the organization, thinking it won't happen here. And thank God we've not had a mass shooting in New York State yet in a school. It doesn't mean it won't happen. We just have to be right every day. The other thing I will say to you about that is mental health and anxiety are so important, and making sure that our children get the resources that they need to help deal with whatever the issue is and try to mitigate that if we can. So having a harm prevention threat management team and a plan in place is most definitely important. And the last thing I'll say on that is everybody thinks it's a high school problem. It's always high school kids and it's high school adults. My daughter's an elementary school assistant principal out west and actually took a loaded handgun out of a fifth grader's backpack 2 years ago. Fifth grade. That's not a high school problem. It can happen anywhere and in any grade. We need to provide those resources to students at every level.
Thank you so much. I'm going to start with you on your end. I have a follow-up question. What are young people already telling us that adults need to hear more clearly?
Well, I'd start
easy
with
question.
Yeah, easy question. I'd start with the Anxious Generation book if you haven't read it yet.
Yes.
Please read the book. There's so many things out of COVID and phones and social media and all the other things that are out there. But providing those resources and those tools, having an anonymous reporting application for students in schools, I think is extremely important, because our kids aren't going to come to us and tell us the things they see or the things that are a problem, because it's a texting generation. New York State did a great job last year taking cell phones out of schools from bell to bell, but it doesn't work every day and it doesn't work in every school. So having an anonymous reporting tool that they can access, where if they see something, say something, Snapchat, Reddit, Instagram, whatever it is, and that can get reported anonymously, or they can self-identify to a trusted adult in the organization, really helps mitigate those problems before they develop into a larger concern.
Thank you, Brian. Dr. Sammy?
When it comes to that, I feel like young people these days just want to be heard and not just talked to. I feel like the way we have conversations with them probably need to be changed a little bit. They are exposed to a lot of things on social media. They're given a lot of information from different sources. So we kind of have to learn to have a different conversation with them and make them feel more comfortable in a space where they don't feel judged when they ask questions. They're exposed to so many things. They have a lot more exposure than we did when we were younger. So they know a lot about sleep. They know health affects their everyday lives. They know a lot about hormones. They have. That
was my hormone, sorry.
But the thing is, they know a lot about how their bodies are changing, but it's all about being comfortable having that conversation. So I think we just need to just learn how to listen to them better than just tell them what to do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to mirror what you both said. I 100% agree. A lot of what I say and what our lab says is just talk. And it's mirroring what you're saying. Young people want us to talk to them. The mental health crisis is real. I get a lot of pushback on that when I talk. Oh, well, what about in the 1960s? Yes, but it's still real now, and young people need our support. One of the things that our lab developed is that trusted adult videos, a bunch of videos for adults to learn how to talk to young people. How do you become that trusted adult? How do you have that conversation? How do you have that motivational interviewing with them? So learn to do that, learn to listen. We always say, don't blame, don't shame. It's a conversation. It's not a confrontation. We're not lecturing young people. So listen to them. Use their terms. When it comes to substances, for example, we always say, don't say, you're not doing drugs, right? They're not going to then say, no, actually I am, Mom. So, learn out. I went to this talk and I learned about this thing called cannabis, what do you call it? I always say pot. My own 26 and 30-year-old go, God, your old mom is weed. So find out from the kids, what do they call it? What do they want to talk about? What are their words? So that way we are matching them rather than coming from just our adult perspective.
Fantastic. So we're going to switch gears a little bit. We are going to do a deep dive, all right? So we're going to start with you. I hope it's okay to call you Dr. Bonnie. Is that okay? All right. So my first question to you, it's going to be with regards to youth harm prevention and vaping and cannabis. Vaping and cannabis products continue to change. What are the young people encountering now that parents and educators may not recognize?
They're encountering everything we don't recognize. When it comes to vaping, they are having access to nicotine vapes and nicotine pouches that have as much nicotine as not packs, but cartons of cigarettes. That's how much nicotine is in these products. And not just the nicotine, the harmful chemicals, the flavors, and so on. THC. They are encountering THC that is 10 times the amount of THC than when I was a kid. So tremendous amount. Plus, and some of us were talking about these earlier, the gummies, the flavors, the things that, bubble gum is not attracting us as adults. That's attracting our kids. Unicorn poop, those kinds of flavors. It's attracting kids. That's not for us. So they are really encountering the targeted marketing, confusion. They don't understand that a gummy is a THC gummy. They don't understand what it means. When we talk to young people, and when we talk about harm reduction, the first thing about harm reduction is not using at all. And that's important. But if they are using, we need to be compassionate. Again, not blaming and shaming. We need to help young people quit. We need to help young people cut back. And if they're still using, let's keep them safe. So, yes, we don't want them using at all, but let's make sure we have naloxone. I carry naloxone in my bag for fentanyl or opioid overdose. Let's make sure that they know how to test their pills. Let's make sure that they know not to use while driving. Again, we don't want them to use at all. But if they are, I don't want to talk to more parents and kids who've lost loved ones from these drugs. So that's where I think they're facing. And they're facing products that we adults don't understand because they're changing so rapidly.
Thank you so much. That helps so much. I mean, I can safely say I've never said that I didn't want unicorn poop. I will say it today. I don't want unicorn poop.
Me too.
But thank you. That's really vital information for us. Dr. Sammy, I'm going to do a deep dive with you now.
Sure.
So my first question is, women often take responsibility for everyone else's health before their own.
Yes? Yeah.
What screenings or health conversations are most commonly delayed or overlooked?
That's a great question. So, first and foremost, the annual physical exam. That's your key exam to find your numbers, right? To assess your risk, see what else might be going on. I think a lot of women really just push it, to kind of make time for other things or prioritizing their children's appointments, their pets' appointments, their spouse's appointments, but forget their own. Secondly, just your basic screening. Sometimes mammograms are delayed, based on your age and where you are in life. It could be your bone scan, your DEXA scan, your screening test, your colonoscopy. Like, are you ready for that? Which pap smear are you supposed to get? Am I due for that this year? Has it been 3 years? Has it been 5 years? Like, all these things are easily forgotten or just kind of delayed. On top of that, I would say certain conversations are also delayed. The symptoms that you're feeling that you might feel like, oh, it's just because I'm getting older, right? Like, oh, I'm just feeling a little hotter. I'm just forgetting things. Too many things are going on, your mood, you're sleeping less, or your quality of sleep is changing. Like basic things like that, everyday things, these are delaying conversations that you should have as soon as you don't feel like yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have another question for you.
Sure.
What should parents understand about helping adolescent girls build healthy habits and learn to advocate for their own health care?
Yeah, so that's the greatest gift you can give to your daughter. Learning to advocate for themselves, especially when it comes to their health. So I know I'm talking about women's health today and how healthy women build healthy families, but healthy women were once young women, young adolescents, and that's when certain things begin. So you want them to be comfortable with their health care. You want them to be comfortable with going to the doctor, speaking up when they don't feel normal. They need to understand that even their menstrual periods are a vital sign. It really gives you insight into your overall health, and they need to be comfortable to speak about it with their parents, with their physician, and not only that, talking about just general health, right? Proper nutrition, getting your physical activity in, what good sleep really means, because for women, a lot of these things physically manifest when we're not taking care of ourselves and getting the proper nutrition, sleep, and activity. And it starts from when we're young. So it's really important to get young women just comfortable in speaking up.
Thank you, Dr. Sammy. That was really helpful. Brian, you're up. Are you ready? All right. When people hear the phrase school safety, they think only about major emergencies. What does a comprehensive school safety approach look like? What does it include?
Well, a comprehensive plan, really, it's a 360 view. It's having the parents, the staff, the administrators, and the first responders all actively engaged in the day-to-day activities of your children's lives. Whether it's planning for a lockdown drill or planning fire drills, it should be just as important and just as routine as putting on a raincoat and getting ready to go outside because it's going to rain this afternoon. It shouldn't be a huge stressor. And that's what we're trying to diffuse in that conversation with everybody together.
Thank you. So what role should parents play in the school's emergency preparedness planning?
It's important to have, and I kind of break it up in quarters. Over the summer, and I say this from a board perspective, over the summer your school board is looking at all the emergency plans in your school district, and they're reviewing them, and they're modifying them, and they're putting them up for a public hearing, and they're going to go to a vote early in September. So by September, by this quarter finishing in September, your plans are together. So now between September and the next 3 months, you should be looking at what did we change in the plan, how are we testing that plan, how are we letting people know what's going on. Moving into the third quarter, you're having drills, you're having conversations, so that everybody's on the same page. Because the thing you don't want to have when you test these drills, or God forbid in a real emergency, you want to make sure that you're following what the district is doing and the first responders are doing, and not responding to social media or the chat thread or text thread that's out there. Follow the direction of your district and your leadership on how to get your student back safely, how to make sure we're doing reunification appropriately, so we make sure that the right child goes back to the right adult that they're supposed to go back to at the end of the emergency or the end of the day or the end of the drill.
Thank you for that. So this is a question for all of you. Prevention is a common theme throughout all three of your areas. Why do organizations often wait until there is a crisis before taking action?
It's a great question. I think part of it is people are afraid, and I think it comes to also why they don't see the doctor, right? I think people are afraid. There's a lot of thinking from adults that if you talk about something, people are more likely to engage. So I see that in my field with sex, drugs, rock and roll. Although I love rock and roll, but if you talk to young people about tobacco or about cannabis or about sex, that they're going to go do that. Hate to tell you this, there's nothing we tell them that they don't already know.
Yeah.
What instead we're doing is we're saying, let's have a conversation about things you already know about. Let's talk about it. Let's adults get educated so that way they can have the conversation with the young people. So I think a lot of the prevention comes from they're scared. They don't know what to say. They think they're going to flip kids into doing when they're not. And they don't know what to say about prevention. And when we're talking prevention, we also have to realize secondary prevention. When you go in to any group and you are preventing, probably when you're talking about, maybe not elementary, although I hate to tell you, we've got second graders vaping or using cannabis, gummies and things. But when you go into a classroom and you say don't, So very strict NO, don't do. And you have 20, 30, 40% of your student body already doing whatever it is you're trying to prevent. You have to understand that for some people, you're going in with the idea of secondary prevention, meaning not having them continue or helping them cut back or quit whatever it is that they might be doing, or offering those harm reduction techniques. And I think adults are afraid to do that. I think they don't always have the skills, they don't understand, and again, they're afraid that they're going to perpetuate. So I think that's a lot. Or I've talked to principals, for example, who don't want to go into the school bathroom to check on what's going on, because if they find somebody using then or doing any misbehavior, then they have to suspend, which I'm against. We could talk about that. But or they have to do a report. And so I think it's also that they're just afraid of that next step. It's like in prevention, if I screen, I have to be prepared for counseling and intervention, and not everybody is ready for that.
Got it. Thank you, Dr. Bonnie, and rock on. Right?
Yeah, other than a fear of going to the doctor, a lot of it can be awareness too. It's, most people don't seek care until they have symptoms and aren't aware that, a lot of these things, well, when it comes to even metabolic diseases, they're manageable, they're treatable, and screening is the key. And the whole idea of screening is not to seek health when you're not feeling well. That's when you go into the diagnostic and treatment criteria, area. But screening is prevention. Screening is catching things early enough where you can decide to make the changes for yourself to adjust your lifestyle or use clinical ways to change the course and really, really optimize and prevent things for your future health. So a lot of it can be awareness, and you're not really aware of certain symptoms that probably have been developing over time. Chronic disease is silent until it isn't.
Right. Thank you so much. And you?
I think it goes back to complacency, really, or a normalcy bias, if you will. Everybody's convinced that it won't happen in my school district, or it won't happen in my building, and it's not going to happen with my kids or in my kids' classroom. I don't know how many of you saw this, but I think it was mid-April. It was in the local Albany Times-Union. There were two 13-year-olds and a 14-year-old out in central New York that had a plan and had access to weapons and had planned to do a school shooting on a Friday during lunch because they wanted maximum effect and maximum results. And the only way it came about was one of the kids told a parent on a Saturday evening around 11 o'clock, and they were actually able to defuse that whole plan within the next 24 to 36 hours. So if you honestly believe that it's never going to happen in your school, you're kidding yourself. You truly are. It can happen anywhere. It can happen in the nicest school. It can happen in the school that you don't think is the nicest school. It can happen anywhere you want in New York State. It happens all over the country. And the sad part is we have to be right every day. We just have to miss one, and it's going to be the first mass school shooting in New York State. So it's complacency. Yeah.
We could talk to you forever. I mean, you guys are giving us nuggets that we really need to hear as parents, and we can use in the future as future PTA leaders. So I'm going to have one final question. What is one practical action a parent, educator, or PTA leader can take within the next 30 days to improve health prevention or safety in their community? I'll start with you.
I kind of said this at the opening, but talk. Go talk. We have lots of materials, and I don't mean to be a commercial, but they're all free. They're all online on our Stanford Reach Lab website. Go as parents and young people and just learn together. Again, what do you call this? What can we learn together? Can we go on the website? Did you know about substances? What do you call it? Can we learn together? Can we talk about your brains? Can we talk about, and your goal is not to gotcha. Your goal is not to catch them. The goal is not to say, you are using, you're busted. I'm a parent. Kids are old now, but I'm a parent. When my kids were doing stuff I was worried about, of course you're angry, but we can't go there yet. You've got to help them and work with them. So I think that's one thing I would take away from today is talk, but talk with some information behind you. And Also, if I could be daring, be advocates. Let's get these high potency products out of our schools. Let's get lower nicotine or no nicotine, lower THC or no THC. And also, let's not suspend, let's help. Because part of why young people are using or engaging in risk behaviors is they're reaching out, as we started with, for help. So go home, talk to your kids, talk to your schools, have those conversations, be compassionate. And if they are using, which you may not find out today, it may take a few conversations, get them the help that they need, because that's the most important thing we could do as parents.
Thank you.
So I would say it's something simple. It's to live by example. So school leaders, mothers, families. So kids don't always do as we say, but they will do as we do, right? So you want to live by example. You want to show them what proper nutrition is. You want to show them what proper prevention is. You want to go to your visits. You want to prioritize your health. You're going to prioritize your sleep. You're going to prioritize your nutrition. And you're going to prioritize the way you deal with stress. So you can teach them, and I think that's the biggest lesson you can take with you. Just simple, live by example.
Thank you. Brian?
The two things I'd do in the next 30 days, as I mentioned, your school is going through the process of updating their plans and having a public hearing. So go to that public hearing and ask non-confrontational questions. We're trying to all be on the same team and on the same page, and we're all working in the same direction. We're all trying to row in the same direction, if you will, if I say the camping analogy for the canoe. The other thing is advocate with your school for some type of an anonymous reporting app for your students, because kids aren't going to come in, with all due respect, they're not going to come and talk to us. They're not going to tell us all the things that they see or hear from their friends or their peer group or those things during the day or the evening. So having an outlet or a resource for them where they can pass that information, whether anonymously or self-reporting, to a trusted adult in your district who can then act on that and get the tools and resources you need to help mitigate that, it goes a long way toward prevention and safety.
Thank you so much, guys. Please help me give them a round of applause. Thank you to our panelists for helping us approach these important topics with urgency and perspective. Thank you. Today's conversation reminds us that prevention does not begin with panic. It begins with trusted relationships, accurate information, thoughtful preparation, and a willingness to listen to young people. All right, so thank you so much for joining us today. And Robin, I'm going to ask you for a big favor here. We're going to need you to take us out.
This is Bite Size Insights from New York State PTA.